You should see this angle here out there now.
Much better.
Got audio? Okay. And again, that microphone's right next to Clint. And, it's not as good, but it works. Does that make sense? Apologies. Thank you all.
So are we okay, go ahead and start?
Good, good, Brad?
Are you
Yeah,
good?
we're good to go. Thank you.
Tony, I wasn't presented with a folder.
That's fine.
Jimmy?
I have one. I have one, okay.
I don't know what the stuff is.
I know, I'm paperless, you guys are not.
Okay.
She does have one.
Are we running?
Yes, we're good whenever you wanna start.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the New Palestine Town Council meeting for Wednesday, March 18th. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under new agenda items, as the community knows that we are under a, basically state of emergency that the national and state level and, even the county has called. And, our goal was to, handle what was on the agenda and must needed items because of the health concerns that exist, social distancing, the potential of spread of the coronavirus, and we intentionally handled certain items on tonight's agenda. There have been a mass of things that have been presented in, the last couple of hours, and these items have not had time to be properly looked through or reviewed by the council, from emails as well as information presented tonight. And so my intention at this time, if I have the consensus of council, is to not add any more new agenda items to the agenda other than the minutes, personnel issues, and the claims as we'd originally planned. Okay? Is everyone on page with that? Okay, all right. First item under old business is the March 7th, 2020 minutes. Everyone's had a time to review the minutes. I have a copy here that I believe Angie has
Yes.
marked up with several concerns, some discrepancies perhaps. Angie, do you want to address those for us?
On the back page, the second to the last paragraph, it says Summerfest purchased a stage and will use Ted Jonas. That was just asked that they talk to Ted Jonas. Ted Jonas isn't producing a sound system stage for him.
So that sentence needs to be stricken.
Yes. And then, I don't know why I have the SRF, funds fund. To the back page.
So I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from the March 7th meeting with the correction that was pointed out by Angela Farnell.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We have two other sets of minutes. We have the minutes from the executive session of March 11th, 2020. Any discussion of the minutes? If not, just need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Third item, minutes from the executive session of March 16th, 2020. If everyone's had a time to review, I just need a motion to approve in a second.
I make a motion to approve.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, first item under new business.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion under this item. I move that the town council find that David Book has violated the Town of New Palestine Policy and Procedure Employee Handbook, Section 5, in the following manner. Unprofessional behavior while performing job duties, neglect of duty, failure to follow established work procedures and policies, interfering with the productivity of other employees, conducting personal business while on duty, insubordination, blatant disrespect of a town council member and fellow employees, improper use of town property, equipment, and employees, unauthorized use of town property, equipment, and employees, providing false or misleading information to the town council, gross misconduct, gross incompetence, and endorsing or recommending a political candidate on town property. In addition, my motion, based upon these violations of our employee handbook, is that effective immediately at approximately 7:16 p.m. on March 18th, 2020, David Book's employment with the town of New Palestine be terminated. I further move that we shall cause all of David Book's personal belongings to be boxed up and delivered directly to him, and that he not be allowed to be present when these items are gathered. Finally, I move that David Book be directed to immediately deliver to Bob Ely, Chief of the New Palestine Police Department, any and all town property of any kind whatsoever, including but not limited to vehicles, keys to any and all buildings, vehicles, or any and all types of locks or padlocks, computers, computer passwords, documents, files, and records, including sewer plant bank account ledgers, checkbooks, or all other sewer plant documentation and records, access codes, telephones, or other electronic devices, and any and all other town property.
A second.
Any discussion on the motion?
You wanna say anything, Dave?
No. Wouldn't do any good.
Okay, no discussion? If
Could
not,
he list the violations? Not just the codes, what the
I've listed
violations
it.
were?
They'll be in a memorandum that'll be placed in the employee file, and if you wanna make a public records request, you can obtain that.
I've done that, I can do that.
Call for the question?
okay, there's been a first and a
There's been a
second of the
second.
motion?
I made the motion.
Okay,
It's been seconded.
all right. All in favor of said motion?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay, motion carried.
Did you ask for opposed? I'm sorry.
Ask for opposed.
Oh, everyone said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear Jan's.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Before we address claims, there is a,
Oh, I'm sorry, before we move on to claims, I have one other item under this heading. Madam President, I move that the town council find that Tony Pyle, clerk treasurer of the town of New Palestine, has engaged in conduct and actions that are contrary to and directly interfere with the orderly functioning of town business. Tony Pyle's conduct and actions do not meet reasonable standards for acceptable behavior. Specifically, whether intentionally, accidentally, or coincidentally, and I do not believe in coincidences, she failed to forward notice to the Greenfield Reporter of a planned town council executive session on March 9th, 2020. Tony Pyle's failure to provide timely notice was the only reason that this executive session was canceled and rescheduled. She also requested Walker IT to engage in activities that served no town interest and in fact were intended to collect evidence to be used in litigation against the town council. Specifically, I'm referring to Tony Pyle requesting security camera footage to be retrieved from Bob Ely's computer while Bob was not in his office for her own personal interest and not in the town's interest. These actions prompted the town council to adopt a security camera access policy to prevent such conduct in the future. Walker IT has submitted an invoice for the payment of these services requested by Tony Pyle, and because this request was not in the interest of or for the benefit of the town of New Palestine, Tony Pyle should personally be required to pay this invoice. Additionally, Tony Pyle has created arbitrary barriers to the free flow of information and documentation to council members regarding our own public records by demanding that we submit a public records request form for any documentation we desire. Such procedures are not uniformly applied to all document requests. Specifically, Council Member Angela Farno has requested minutes and contracts regarding the use of our sewer plant and testing performed at our sewer plant, and those documents still have not been provided. However, Tony Pyle requested that at least one town employee, and perhaps more than one town employee, search for such documents. Such documents were in fact located and provided to Tony Pyle's father-in-law, Dave Book, even though he did not submit a public records request in order to receive these documents. More than 1.5 months ago, the town council passed and fully signed an ordinance making changes in a town employee's salary. As of today's date, those salary changes have not been implemented by Tony Pyle. This means the impacted employee has continued to receive a higher rate of pay, which creates an obligation that this employee reimburse the town for the excess funds he has improperly received. There have even been errors in basic things like assigning claim numbers to obligations to be paid by the town. Such errors have at minimum created confusion and could very well lead to improper payments of public funds. The residents of New Palestine deserve better, and such deficiencies need to be documented. If Tony Pyle were an employee of the town, I would now be making a motion that her employment be terminated. But that is not an available option, as she is an elected official. Therefore, my motion, based upon these facts and circumstances, is that the town council formally censure Tony Pyle. Although there may be few practical implications from being formally censured, and the same cannot and does not remove Tony Pyle from her elected position as the clerk treasurer. Such motion does in fact create a formal and permanent record of Tony Pyle's failure to properly perform the functions of her elected office. That is my motion.
Is there any discussion?
First need to ask for a second.
Is there a second to Bill's motion?
I second.
Any discussion of said motion?
I call for the question.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Motion carried. There is an item of emergency, the only other new item we will deal with tonight, other than the claims, and that is a declaration of local emergency. Okay.
Want me to read it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Declaration of local emergency, whereas the undersigned is the duly elected town council president of the town of New Palestine, Indiana. And whereas Indiana Code 10-14-3-29A1 permits the principal executive officer of a political subdivision the ability to declare a local emergency. And whereas the town council has a duty to ensure the safe and efficient operation of the government of the town of New Palestine, Indiana. And whereas the undersigned has received information from various sources, including but not limited to federal, state, the Hancock County Emergency Management Office, and the Hancock County health officials of the confirmed existence within Greenfield, Indiana of COVID-19 coronavirus, hereinafter referred to as coronavirus, and that said virus is spreading throughout the state of Indiana. Whereas the undersigned has also been informed by the aforementioned sources of information that the potential rapid spread of the coronavirus may be mitigated by limiting public interaction. And whereas in order to reduce the risk of exposure to the coronavirus to town employees and the public, it's necessary to temporarily limit public access to all buildings owned and or operated by the town of New Palestine, including but not limited to Town Hall located at 42 East Main Street, New Palestine, Indiana. It is therefore declared that a state of local emergency exists in the town of New Palestine, Indiana. As a result of this local emergency, public access to all buildings owned and operated by the town of New Palestine, including but not limited to Town Hall located at 42 East Main Street, New Palestine, Indiana, shall be restricted to elected officials, appointed officials, and town employees, as well as other personnel deemed essential by the undersigned. Citizens requiring services of the utility billing department may make payments by utilizing the drop box in the entryway to Town Hall or online. Citizens having questions, requesting initiation of a new service, or needing service upon an existing account may contact the utility billing department at 317-861-4727. All appointed managers, administrators, commissioners, and department heads are hereby authorized to take all lawful action necessary to effectuate the terms and intent of this declaration to reduce the risk of further spread of the coronavirus, which would result in a reduction in the efficiency of government and utility services within the town of New Palestine, Indiana. In compliance with the statement of general guidance of the Public Access Counselor of the state of Indiana, all public meetings may be conducted electronically. All reasonable efforts, given the resources of the town of New Palestine, will be made to live stream the council meetings, with further information regarding such access to be posted on the website for the town of New Palestine as it becomes available. Furthermore, every effort will be made, given the resources of the town of New Palestine, to allow remote public comments and questions during the meeting at the appropriate and/or designated time. The public is strongly urged to view said proceedings online from their home, especially for high-risk or symptomatic individuals. Please feel free to contact any member of the council with any questions regarding town business or concerns. The Hancock County Emergency Management Office, by and through the Hancock County Commissioners, has issued a travel advisory for Hancock County indicating that only essential travel, such as to and from work or in emergency situations, is recommended. And the town of New Palestine hereby declares their intention to abide by and to enforce said travel advisory throughout the incorporated limits of New Palestine, Indiana. The town of New Palestine will continue to offer town services. Public safety services are deemed essential services, and as such, those departments will continue to operate with adjustments as appropriate to ensure essential service continuity. All other town of New Palestine departments will remain open, although closed to the public access, and they will remain available for essential business either by telephone, electronic mail, or by appointment made in advance. Those departments may be contacted at 317-861-4727. This declaration shall become effective as of 8 a.m. March 19, 2020, and expire within 7 days thereafter, unless extended by the town council. So declared this 18th day of March 2020. Brandy Baston, Town Council President, Town of New Palestine, Indiana.
Yep.
So,
Go ahead.
you just need to sign it, and then that makes it good for 7 days. It can be extended by the council if they so desire to do so, by a motion. Although it's not on your agenda, so my recommendation is probably think about that and then probably have to set a special meeting to do that. Recognizing that under the, and I know maybe you haven't had a chance because you just got it this afternoon, the Public Access Counselor's statement. And under public access law in emergency situations, you can call a meeting in shorter than 48 hours notice. You just have to give the press and the public the same notice that you as council individuals have of the date, time, and location of the meeting. So you're not restricted by the 48-hour requirement. So,
And Greg, it's your belief that we cannot extend this beyond the 7 days right now?
well, I'm only going by what the president indicated, that no other agenda items would be added. So that this is not an agenda item because this is her declaration.
Right.
She's just informing the public. I think probably a motion to approve would be considered another agenda item.
Right.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
yep.
So as such, my anticipation, I felt that this was necessary right away, and another reason why we must have this meeting and take care of the emergency issues and then move forward. At this time, as we get throughout the 7 days, we will discuss declaring the special meeting.
You'll have to do it before the expiration of 7
Right,
days.
the 7 days, right. Okay. The other item we have on the agenda is claims number 20929 through 20965. I think, Bill, you had a question about the numbers and the
Right.
invoices.
It appears that there is no claim number 20931. So if we make a motion to approve claims, we want to make sure that that item is not approved because there's no information regarding what would be approved under that number. Also, regarding the claims as presented, I will make a motion that we approve all of the claims with the exception of 20931 because it does not exist, or at least we didn't receive any information under that number. Also, I want to note that claim number 20928 is missing, so that we don't want to approve that. At the last meeting, claim number 20927 was the last claim that was approved, so we have a little bit of a gap there. And then finally, with respect to claim number 20929 to Walker IT in the amount of $199.90. This claim was item number 8 of a prior claim that was tabled from the last meeting. And it's appropriate that we discuss this claim a little bit in detail. I move that claim number 20929 be denied for the purpose that it is for services that were requested, that were not for the benefit of the town council. It was requested for personal use, and therefore it is not a proper claim to be paid by the town.
Other than that, is your motion to approve the claims?
So, yeah, my motion is to approve all of the claims other than 20929, which is Walker IT for $199.90. And also, I want to make very clear that my motion to approve the remaining claims does not include approval of claim number 20928 or 20931, because we don't have any information regarding those two numbers.
Well, this one was reprinted, and the 20931 was associated with Triad.
Okay, so that's something that was reprinted after the information was
Correct.
sent out, so
Correct.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
That was one that was not approved by the council, and so it was tabled so that it could be reissued.
I thought that Triad came in at the last meeting and we approved that to be
You
paid.
approved the 446, for wastewater, but it wasn't put on the APBs for the town.
I will amend my motion to include payment of the revised 20931 to Triad for $446.25. And I'll just point out that this is the first, while we're sitting at the meeting, the first that I've seen of anything supporting claim number 20931, despite my prior request for clarification. So that's my motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion by council?
Well, I have discussion. In my opinion, claim number 20929 should be a separate motion because it came up at the last meeting and was denied to be paid. And now we're bundling it in with all the other claims that are legit, that we legitimately have to discuss tonight.
Clint, I will withdraw my motion because I think that your point is well taken. So I'll go first. I'll make a motion that we approve claim numbers 20931 through claim number 20965, provided that that number hasn't changed since the last I received. Looks like there is. There's a claim number 20966.
There was a check, by Brandy.
I'll move that motion, or that claim also be approved.
Okay,
So
Again,
my motion is to approve claims 20930 through 20966, even though I just received that one now. It's a proper claim.
Brandy, did you not let the council know that was something you requested as town council president?
Did I not let the council know what?
That there was an APB that you requested to be put in immediately? That was not part of the original thing that, because council requested I send those 72 hours out ahead of time. So if this is a last minute, I would have guessed that the town council president would have communicated with the rest of the town council members through email, that there was one added so that Bill was aware that there was a new one on the APB list.
That decision was made urgently to, in the discovery process so thank you for pointing out my shortcoming there. I appreciate, that. With everything going on in the emergent issue with this, I apologize if I wasn't clear on this one. In looking at dealing with all the emergency processes we must put in place this week as a workplace to ensure that if something was to happen with medical crisis technology as a workplace, I tried to take every step I could to make sure we were protected. Being advised by the local advisory technical committee expressed some concerns to us, and one of the emergent things that I did do was that our Keystone software payroll accounting system has absolutely no backup system, and if something was to happen with that, we would have been in a really unfortunate situation. So I did put into action that day when I was here and talking with Tony, got a hold of Keystone and found out for $275 a year, we can have a backup system that had never been invested in before to ensure if there is a crisis. We worked together to ensure that could be paid immediately, so that could be downloaded immediately with Rob Walker. I honestly didn't know it was assigned a claim number right away, and so I apologize if I didn't share that with everyone immediately with all the other emergency decisions I've been making this week.
And
And then
while we have sat here in the meeting, I've had the opportunity to review the supporting information. I'm comfortable with it, including that in my motion to approve claims.
And then just clarification for the council's information, we do have backups of that. We have backups of flash drives. It just wasn't to the effect of the iCloud. So I do appreciate Brandy investigating that and making sure that we are double, triply covered. I think that's really important.
Right, and that's backed up off-site for us, so that we shouldn't have any issues.
Good.
For sure. Okay, so let's readdress again, so we're
So
all
that's
clear,
my motion.
because we've been claims 20930 through
Through.
20966.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion further on this?
So I know how Bill feels, but we're gonna leave out the Walker IT.
Right, we'll make
Even-
that in a separate motion
Separate
right
motion.
now. Or after,
After this.
first we're going to approve the claims, that there's no question on them, that was Clint's suggestion.
Mhm.
And I think that was well-founded,
Okay.
and then we'll come back, cause,
Right.
you know, we might as well make a decision regarding that other claim at some point in time.
Right. So this is to address 20930 through 20966. We have a motion by Bill, a second by Clint. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Okay, now, I'd like to go back and address claim number 20929 and point out that this was the 8th item under a series of expenses to Walker IT presented at the March 7th meeting. At that meeting, I moved to table that particular item. Now's just as good a time as any to take it off the table and make a decision. As I stated earlier, this is particularly an expense that was requested by Tony Pyle for services that were not for the town. They were for her personal purposes. Specifically, she was trying to obtain video footage to use against the town council, and therefore I don't believe that that's a proper use of taxpayer funds to pay this claim. I understand that Walker IT received a request from a town employee. So, and I'm not pointing a finger at Walker IT. In fact, I credit Walker IT because in the course of obtaining the footage, their representative determined that this is not something that should be released, or maybe had questions. It was not released, despite requests that it be immediately turned over to Ms. Pyle. And therefore, as I stated earlier in my censure motion, I don't believe that the town, no different than if somebody went out and used a town credit card to use for, purchase something for their personal use, at their personal residence. I don't see a difference between incurring an expense in this manner. It wasn't for any legitimate town use or purpose, and therefore, my motion is to deny claim number 20929.
And did we provide clarification, I mean, Chief Ely is here tonight, that this was to take information directly off his computer, the video storage off his computer,
My computer's the one that has
Right.
access to get to the
Right.
DVR system, correct?
and you were not here.
Just for clarification, I just have to say this, I had asked for the information, and it was Walker IT who came in with the USB port and said, I'd go ahead and get it for you. I said, okay. And he downloaded it onto Bob's computer, with his permission while he wasn't here. And I followed up with him in the morning, and then he explained to me the proper policy and procedure. So I was not aware of that, and so that is now being followed.
Bob wasn't aware of what was being taken off his computer. It wasn't clarified.
I'm not gonna get into that part. I'll have my lawyer reach out.
Bob's here,
but-
why don't we ask him? Bob, did you receive a request to access security camera footage? Was it explained as such?
No, I was contacted by Mr. Robinson that they needed to get they had just received quotes for camera systems, and he said something about getting footage. I assumed he was talking about the measuring, because they were talking about putting different cameras elsewhere. So Jim said they need to get over there, and I informed him one of my officers was next door, so I was already off work. Key had left on the run, so my door was locked and secured. So it was remote access through TeamViewer, which we have on our computer, which we use with our IT guy to help us out in certain situations. when I came in the next morning, there was a file folder on my desktop, and it says for Tony, and I didn't know what it was, so I did not know what the download was.
So the request is not something that you understood, it wasn't clarified. And in fact, what you thought they were requesting was to measure footage, meaning distances, not access to the camera, is that correct?
Correct.
And had they explained what the request was,
It would've
what
been
would your
denied.
response would have been?
It would have been denied.
Okay. All right. Bill's made a motion to deny claim 20929 to Walker IT. Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion by council? Okay. All in favor of denial of the claim, signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda are department reports. They have been tabled to the April 5th, 2020 meeting. Other item on the agenda is we have public comments at this time, again, because of the local health emergency. We have decided to allow public comments up to 1 minute per person. If you would like to make a public comment or ask any questions, we ask that you stand, state your name and your address, and share or ask questions of us within 1 minute. Are there any at this time?
I think I have one question. That's about it.
I can't see, go ahead and give us your name, please.
Brad Simpson, 4735 West Harvest Way. My only question, it looks, a lot of it was answered from Bill. My only question here was, did any of the town council know about what Book was doing, or any other employees know what Book was doing, including our town attorney, prior to this year?
I can only speak for myself. I did not know, prior to being elected. I can also tell you that I received information on February 24th and immediately, within 12 hours, contacted our council so that an investigation by the Indiana State Police could be initiated, and that did occur.
I didn't know.
I did not know either.
Have all the employees been turned in? It says in the article that he had hired other employees from town.
In response to that specific question, I would say that you are asking about a personnel issue that did not result in the suspension, demotion, or termination of a town employee, and therefore we cannot comment regarding personnel matters. That's by statute.
I don't need a name, I just wanna make sure that they were turned in.
I can say any and all relevant information is in the hands of the Indiana State Police. Other than that, we cannot make any comment regarding personnel matters that have not resulted in the termination, suspension, or demotion of an employee.
Was Dave's injury done while I was working for his private company?
That was before my time.
That was before my time, and I have no idea.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any public comments or questions? Is there anything coming off of Facebook that you?
Any questions from the public on Facebook?
I've not seen them because it's actually running on my phone and not over here because of the glitch. I'm glad I brought it back up.
Have you seen anything?
No questions.
Because certainly if there are questions
Right.
that are being sent in remotely or electronically, we'll be happy to.
I think they're gonna do the email,
Okay.
so after the fact.
I posted on the town website each individual council member's email and said that we'd be more than happy to answer any questions just via
Absolutely.
email.
I think that would be maybe a little easier, everyone has time to think about it.
Okay. this time, that is the end of our agenda, this evening, other than council members. I allocated 1 minute per person. If you chose anything,
I have nothing.
I have nothing further.
I have nothing.
I don't have anything.
I do wanna say, this has been a very, very difficult time for all of us. There's been a lot of miscommunication. We just have a lot going on, not just here, but nationally. It's been tough. It's been very tough. It's been very emotional. And we'll just muddle through the best we can. I don't know what else to say. I never thought we would be in this kind of a position for any of this. So, we're treading in new territory.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Thank you, Jim. If nothing else on the agenda, or no other comments, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.